Oops, hold on. There you go. Okay.
Go to meeting. Okay, my clock, I gotta wait about 5 seconds, I think, to hit 7 p.m. Okay, 7 p.m. I'm gonna call the regular meeting of the Wallingford Inland and Wetlands Watercourse Commission to order. The date is December 2nd. The time is 7 p.m. And if you'll join me with a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag United
States of America, and to the republic which stands
One
one
nation,
nation
under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty and justice for all.
Great. Okay. Roll call. Jennifer? Roll call.
Here,
Nick?
Jennifer Passeretti.
Nick Kern,
Nick Kern.
Deb Phillips,
Deborah Phillips.
Ally,
Ally McKean.
Robert,
Simon.
Jim Vitale, and Aaron. you in
Aaron
there?
O'Hare, environmental planner. Mr. Chairman, I'm wondering where our recording secretary is. Do you see her name there? Kathy Burns? Kathy Burns?
Yeah,
Because she called me today, this afternoon.
Who is caller 4?
I don't know who caller 4 is.
Well, the initials. Oh, I see. No initials. Because last time it said
There's
Kay Burns. Last time she. the last
yeah,
time.
there's at least 3 people who are on phone who are not muted. Who might, one of them might be her.
Is Kathy online? On air?
I don't have her phone number here, but anyone who has the contact sheet in front of them, it's on our contact sheet, our wetland contact sheet, if anyone has that available to them.
Give me Scott Hanley. Scott's still up there? Yeah. Can you hear me?
He should be.
Hey, Scott, Jim here. Are you able to record this meeting, Scott? You can record this meeting, so you'll get 100% recording of the meeting. That's a yes. So we're going to use Scott Hanley as recording secretary. You'll have to come down line by line on it.
Aaron,
Right,
I do have her number if you want me to call her.
Or I can call her here if you give me the number.
Can I-
Either way, Jennifer, you want to call her? Want me to
Yeah,
call her?
I don't know if she wants her phone number blasted.
Oh, I see. Okay, so why don't you call her?
Okay.
Else can mute anymore. There you go.
I just spoke to Kathy. Oops. There's my face. I just spoke to Kathy. She said that she can hear everything for some reason, her video is not working, but she is online and she's writing everything down. We just, for some reason, we just can't see or hear her.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Okay, with that being said, when there's any motions made, I would like the person making the motions to identify themselves. That will assist Kathy in the minutes, and it also will assist if they've got to come back to Scott's tape and see what's going on. Okay, we move on to item C on the agenda, consideration of the minutes. The first consideration is the regular meeting of November 4th. Is there any comments regarding the minutes of November 4th? Corrections, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
This is Debbie Phillips. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the minutes of the regular meeting on Wednesday, November 4th, 2020 be approved as submitted.
Motion made. Is there a second?
Robert Simon seconds.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Call for a vote. Jennifer?
Abstain?
Nick?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
Ally?
Yeah,
Jim? Yes. Well, Robert, I only got 5.
You already got
I'll have
5.
to- Robert, how would you vote? Okay?
Robert, yes.
Okay. Special meeting of November 10th. We're both. Is there any corrections or modifications to the minutes? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
This is Deborah Phillips. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the minutes of the remote special meeting on Tuesday, November 10th, 2020 be accepted as submitted.
Motion made. Is there a second?
Robert Simon second.
Motion made second. Any other discussion? Call for a vote. Nick?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
Ally?
Yeah.
Robert?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Going on to item D, and this is the continuation of the public hearing on application A 20-10.3. Significant impact to 5 Research Parkway. Okay, this public hearing will be tabled to a later date to be determined. It looks like hopefully it'll be sometime in January. I would stay in contact with the Inland Wetland Department to see if a date has been chosen yet. But I would think we'll know more about a date given the January meeting. So this application will just, or this public hearing will be tabled.
Mr. Chairman, before you close this portion of the public hearing and continue it, I just wanted to know, we did get a letter in this afternoon from the attorney for the applicant. And they are giving their consent to an extension of time to complete the public hearing on or before January 29th, 2021. And then they say, it is our understanding that the commission intends for the continued public hearing to take place on a date sometime after January 6th. So,
But we didn't ask for an extension of time, did we?
correct, we didn't. And plus we do have Governor Lamont's 90-day extension, but I think just to be, it's sort of like belt and suspenders, and the attorney felt that this was important to do this.
Well, we don't know what date the next public hearing will be because it rests upon how quick they can get all their information to satisfy the different departments in Wallingford. That's the important part of the next meeting.
Yes, it's getting real technical. I did count the calendars this evening. I count the calendar days. So without an extension, like if it wasn't in COVID times and we didn't have the governor's executive order with the 90-day extension, we would have to ask for an extension from the applicant after December 15th. So I think their attorney is just being cautious to say, let's talk about a granting of an extension, just like we would if it was in pre-COVID times. We
Well,
also, the
and
next
as far as,
application also does it.
Aaron, as far as I understand, they can't grant an extension if we don't ask for one. So they can be protective or trying to protect themselves, but we haven't asked for an extension. So for the record, I just want it stated that we haven't asked for extension. Okay?
Okay, I do see the attorney's name up there.
I don't think it makes a difference. They submitted a letter, but we didn't ask for it. But the COVID situation with Lamont is probably automatically extended it anyway.
That's the feeling of our law department, yes.
Well, then we'll move on from there. Anything else, Aaron?
Not on this application.
Are trying to protect themselves, but we haven't asked for an extension. Who's talking? So for the record, I just want it stated that we
It's
haven't
Nick.
asked.
Hold on.
Wait a minute.
I think
Gotta
Kathy,
identify ourselves.
she's got an echo here. Hold on.
Here.
Okay, I do see the.
Hold on. Wait a second. I gotta go here.
Who is
It's you talking. It's just an echo. And Kathy's.
okay.
Okay, now it's muted.
All right, I think it was an echo floating around.
Okay.
Okay, so this the public hearing will be tabled as of now till sometime in January. Okay, going on to old business application A 18 1.2 North Colony Road, Beaumont Road, Patton Brook bond release.
They're not ready.
Okay, application A 20 7.1 5 and 21 Tully's Road.
This applicant felt, to be extra sure, they also asked for an extension. And they are, I mean, excuse me, they are in advance consenting to an extension. Our law department said it wasn't necessary, but they wanted to be sure, so they submitted a letter yesterday requesting an extension, or granting you an extension, excuse me.
Well, I'm going to identify the same thing. We haven't requested it, so just for the record. Now, we just, we have an interim report from Malone and McBroom on the request that we wanted a peer review.
Yes,
We don't have to go into the report, but we have a partial interim report. So they're working very aggressively on getting us a finished report.
yes, they're working with the applicant, yes. Mhm.
Okay, everything's going along smoothly with that?
Yes,
I see Lucas nodding his head. Is that, you're in agreement, Lucas?
Yes, we plan to submit a response to Malone and McBroom's comments either late this week or very early next week.
Okay, so you're telling us that it's possibly we'll have a good handle on this by the January meeting?
Yes, that's our hope, because we're also concerned about the planning and zoning timeframe as well.
Okay, Lucas, I'm sorry, I jumped in to acknowledge you, but identify who you are for the record.
Yes, Lucas Hellerich, project engineer with Woodard and Curran, from an office based in Middletown, Connecticut, representing our client and the applicant.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And going on to application A 29.2, 2 Northrop Industrial Park Road East and 1117 Northrop Road.
May I ask a question before we move on?
Go ahead.
Regarding the extension, I did a calculation, and based on the original 65 days and then the governor's 90-day extension, I came up with a date of December 17. of 2020. And I would like to inquire into the process regarding the extension beyond December 17, how that would work.
Are you in agreement with him, Maren, on the time frame?
Yes, he and I went over this. Yes, he and I went over this.
Well, how come the legal department says he doesn't need an extension?
It doesn't hurt to do an extension, to request an extension. It's a little different with the one we just did. That was a public hearing. There's different requirements for public hearings. This is not, the Tully's Road is not a public hearing. But it does no harm if you want to grant to request an extension of the applicant.
Okay. That's fine and well, but you started this conversation that said they didn't need an extension. That doesn't seem to be accurate.
My understanding is we get 90 days with the governor's extension. We get another 65 days with the typical extensions. So if you add that together, it's 155 days. So we do have time. So why don't you go ahead and
Yeah, but
request
he
an
ended-
extension?
he indicated that 155 days is up December 17th.
Yes, maybe Lucas could, I'm sorry, I didn't bring my calendar with me. Maybe you could go through that with the commission?
Yes, so using a starting date of July 15, which is, I believe, where we started, 65 days would bring us to September 18. And 90 days would bring us to December 17.
Aaron, excuse me, in your coding for applications, when it says 820, that stands for the year. Does the 9
Yes.
9 mean 9?
7/1, that's July. He was the first application in July,
Well, I
7/1.
oh, 7-1. I was on the wrong line. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize. My fault. Okay, so it comes up to December 17th then. Right, Aaron? If this started in July.
Could you give me a moment here? Okay, August 15th, that's 1, 2, that's 2. So we would normally act on the 17th, on September 7th. We would normally act then. So we would ask for an extension. One extension would bring us to October 18th. The second one would bring us to November 18th, plus 5 days. So that'd be November 23rd. So it would be November 23rd. If we ask for extensions, then we got 90 more days. So I think, Lucas, it depends where you count the 90 days. Do you count them before the typical extensions? Do you count it after the typical extensions? But yes, if we weren't in a COVID situation, we would run out of time on November 23rd.
Okay, but did we ask for extensions? Have you granted us any extensions so far, Lucas?
No.
So far, no.
No.
We had a meeting. I think it may have been possibly the October meeting where we talked about the governor's extension, and we decided at that time we did not need to grant an extension, and that would take us through December. So where we're at right now is the original 65 days expired on September 18, and then the 90 days takes us to December 17. And I'm wondering if we should add another 65 days beyond that.
Aaron, what's our normal extension period
We have up to 65 days.
in an extension?
But yeah,
one
usually you take it
extension or
30
is
or 35, something like that.
What's that?
Typically, we take 30-day extension, and then if we still need it, we ask for another 35-day extension. totaling 65.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna request a vote from the commission if we're requesting an extension from this applicant. Jennifer? Are you in favor of granting them an requesting an extension?
Yes.
Nick Kern,
Yes.
Deborah Phillips,
Yes.
Ally,
Yes,
Robert?
Yes.
Yes. So you will supply us, or you already have supplied us, Lucas, with a extension agreement?
Yes. Yes, I submitted a letter yesterday to Ms. O'Hare.
Okay. Very good. I think
Thank
is
you.
that resolved? Are you got any other issues, Lucas?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay. All right, going on the agenda, application A20, 9.2, 2 Northrop Industrial Park Road and 1117 Northrop Road.
I noticed the attorney is here for that application, but we did get a letter from Attorney Senaviva today requesting that it be tabled.
Okay, I don't, now, what's the extension situation with them?
Perhaps the attorney can address that. Let's see, 9 to September. Again, with the executive order, I haven't been following that so strictly under guidance from the law department that we have 155 days. So perhaps the attorney has been following the calendar more strictly.
Attorney Senaviva, are you online?
I am, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, you just heard what went through the meeting. I think that you have another 90 days from when?
The submission was October.
September, so you got September, October, you're into 60, 62 days or something like that as we speak.
Right. So we have another 90, which brings us well into the time that we'll be back before you were.
September,
We were hoping to be.
Now, the question becomes is, do you think your applicant is going to be ready within the next 90 days?
Absolutely.
All right, so
Yes.
you are not requesting, or we're not requesting an extension from you because you think you're going to be satisfy the requirements in the next 90 days.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, Aaron, I would make a little note somewhere to keep an eye on that timeframe.
Yes, I plan to do that for all our applications now.
Well, it's getting to be a busy time.
Yes.
Okay, going on to application A20, 10.1, 131 Pond Hill Road, Church of the Resurrection. Is the applicant here?
Yeah, the engineer is here. I see. He was here. Russ Postauer was here. I saw his name. Where'd he go?
Hello.
Oh,
still
there he
here.
is.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. I'm Russ Postauer, professional engineer with CCA LLC, office in Brookfield, Connecticut, representing the client. How would you like me to proceed? I've not been before your commission before.
Well, you got a presentation to make regarding this application?
I can describe it. Yes, I can. This project is proposing to add about approximately a 5,400 square foot addition. The use best described as a hall. There will have meetings there, and they will have an occasional sit-down dinners. The building will have a full kitchen in it. To compensate for the increased drainage, we have installed a gallery system in the southeast area. We have reduced the peak flow to less than the existing peak flow off the site. The outlet goes to existing yard drain in the northeast corner.
Do you have a map? Do you have a map we can follow in your presentation?
I have no way of presenting it.
Okay.
If point of clarification, Russ, didn't you put it up on our link, our town website?
I think I don't have I think a Lynn from this town posted it.
Anything you sent us in a share file, we had posted on the town website. Did you
We
send
sent-
us electron?
We send you PDFs of the files.
Yes, it should be up on the town website, but you can't hook into that and make it come up on the monitor?
I'd lose everything if I tried that.
Oh,
Lose my connection. I
well,
apologize. I was going to explain beforehand what I needed to do. The towns I do work in, they put it up and take care of it for us. So a little
Oh.
bit different. I apologize, but I have no way of sharing.
okay.
Yeah,
I
you sent,
still have, the packet of plans that was received in your office on October 5th.
yeah,
Does anybody else have that stuff?
yeah, I do.
The latest plans are November 20, we got November 24th. It went out in the packet that you got hand delivered by courier the day before Thanksgiving on Wednesday night. The night before Thanksgiving, a packet went out. It had the latest plan for this project.
I have it.
Had my environmental planners report in it.
Okay, commissioners, we could take a chance on getting it up online if the folks want to bear with it a moment. How's the commissioners feel? Or do they want to just work off their set of prints?
Well, I got mine in the packet, Jim, on Saturday, so I reviewed it. I have them
You
right
good?
here. So I'm all set.
You're happy with that? Okay.
Yeah,
I have mine also, so I'm all set.
Okay. I just gotta clear the dining room table off to get this map opened up.
Yeah, I found mine.
Shall I proceed?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, proceed, Russell.
Thank you. I'll start over again. The
All right,
proposed
what
addition-
page- Russ, excuse me, what would be the best page for me to follow you on?
Site plan, page S1. At the third page in.
Okay. Let me just double check. S1, got it. Got it.
Okay, just to the south of the existing church, proposing an approximate 5,400 square foot addition. It'll basically be used as a hall. There will be full kitchen facilities inside the building. There's also an adjacent fire lane that we were asked to create. The drainage is handled by an underground gallery system, 280 Coltech units to reduce the peak flow to below existing peak flow. The outlet goes to a yard drain in the northeast corner. There was a concern expressed by the town of possible overflow of water into the neighbors. After a site walk in that, I don't believe that's happening, but we had a slight berm to further protect the neighbors in that area. Then an area, excuse me, things were discovered during the course of the exploration of the site and working with Erin. First, she found out the shed in the western part of the site garage was never approved by your commission. So we've labeled that as being part of the application. There also was a lot of debris towards the wetlands in that area that has since been cleaned up. We're also proposing to provide protection for the outlet of the drainage, riprap, but also the slope next to the walk around the building. We're protecting the riprap. We are going to remove existing soil to place the riprap and not increase any fill. Fill will be net of 0. I have to apologize. There's a small area just south of that area that shows some proposed grading that the computer accidentally turned back on. It was the computer. We're having a serious problem with some new versions of AutoCAD. So I apologize for that. We've also included a stormwater maintenance plan, long-term, drainage calculations, and an area to store snow. They're on the plans and they're also are to be included as part. The stormwater maintenance and the snow storage areas are on single pages that can be filed in the applicant's files, so they have a future reference without having to open up the plans. That was at the request of Aaron, and we were glad to do it. That's the simple version of the project. I don't know how much detail you want me to go into.
Okay, commissioners, do we have any comments, commissioners?
Robert Simon, I have a question. It says here the existing swale appears to be directing water to the yard drain. Can you expand upon that?
It's exactly what it says. If you go to the existing conditions, you'll see easy to see the topographic data that on the east side of the building, the water flows through a swale between the trees to that yard drain.
Okay, and you're going to keep that existing condition is what you're saying?
We kept that existing conditions. What we did was we detained the roof water. So the total flow to that bit yard drain will be slightly less than the existing conditions. The water coming out of the galleries is like 0.1 CFS for a 100-year storm. So the drainage has been slightly reduced.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, commissioners?
No comment.
Yeah, I'd like to refer to the environmental planners report dated November 25th, went out in your packet same day. One thing we discovered when we were looking at this is that it involves a FEMA floodway. And so in the latest iteration of the plans, the FEMA floodway is put on there. We also, as the engineer just went over, in clearing away the debris material in there that over the years, maybe the property manager had placed down in the floodway. When that was taken out, the head wall was revealed and we could see that it was in dire need of maintenance. There was a lot of sediment in front of it. And that's part of the plan now. So they folded in restoring that area and protecting it with riprap. And also, as Russ mentioned, they folded in a retroactive permit for the garage. The good news is the garage did get its building permit and the zoning permit, but they didn't get, I don't think there was maybe a person in that environmental planner in that position at that time. So they didn't get a wetland permit. They're not in the wetlands. They didn't do anything to wetlands, but they're within the 50-foot upland review area. So that's good. This application will take care of that. Attached to my environmental planners report are the photographs showing the head wall. Now it's all exposed. You couldn't see any of it before. And that whole slope will be rip-wrapped. It's on the plans. And then this is a view of the garage. Guess I have to put it like that in front of my face. The garage and the whole slope there. And part of that slope will be taken out. This part in the front, it's unstable material. it's material that was, organic material, yard waste that was dumped there. So it's unstable. When you walk on it, you're going to fall over. So that's going to be taken out because it's obviously shouldn't be there. And then the slope is going to be stabilized, the whole slope. So that's good news. The town engineer did go over this previously, their comments from last time, and she's on board with it, and recently has looked at the plan, is on board with it. She didn't write a second commentary, but she contacted the applicant's engineer, and she's good with it now with all these changes that he has made to the proposed stormwater management system for the associated with the church addition. So I suggest 5 or 6 conditions of approval. One is the placards. I think that's important because you have, different property managers, firms might be involved out there. So you want placards to say, hey, this is a floodway. This is an important wetland area. Don't dump stuff here. Oh, I should mention that I asked for snow disposal areas and they were provided so that no snow goes over that by the garage down into the wetlands. There are other areas provided on the site plan for that. I think it's important, as I put, that the restoration work gets done first, because when we don't put it first and say you have to do that before you start your church work, because things have a way of never getting done when it involves restoration. So I personally would stress to put that first, that condition of approval. Get that work done, then move on to the church addition. And anyway, I don't know if you want me to read those, Mr. Chairman, but there's 6 of them total.
You have 6 in total?
Yes.
Is the applicant in favor of all 6 conditions of approval?
We have no objection. I would like to make one other statement. By the garage, we put a fence up to try to stop any dumping into the wetlands,
That's good.
opposing a fence.
You have no problem with the 6 conditions of approval that she's recommended?
I have no problem, no.
All right. Aaron, is a bond necessary on this? You make reference to the restoration not getting done. We know the bonds work.
That's a good idea.
I just don't know. I'd like to think that this organization would not have a problem meeting the conditions of approval that would require a bond. So it's up to you. You feel that they will do the restorations under your direction?
Actually, a minimal bond would make them remember. So how about a, token bond,
$1,000 bond?
something like that?
Well, it's up to you, Aaron.
Sure, yes, I think that's a good idea. But like I say, a token bond, not too big.
Are you okay with that, Mr. Postauer?
No objection.
Okay, commissioners, any other comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve or deny. Well, I'll entertain a motion to determine significant activity.
Hi, this is Deborah Phillips. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that application A20-10.1, 131 Pound Hill Road, Church of the Resurrection, be deemed not a significant activity.
Is there a second?
Robert Simon, seconds.
Motion made and second. Any other discussion? Call for a vote. Nick,
Yes.
Deborah,
Yes.
Ally,
Yeah,
Robert,
Yes.
Jim? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and now I'll entertain a motion to approve or deny this application.
This is Deborah Phillips. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that application A20-10.1, 131 Pond Hill Road, Church of the Resurrection, be approved as submitted with the 6 conditions of approval that are in the environmental planner's report of November 25th, 2020.
Motion made. Is there a second?
Robert Simon, seconds.
Motion made.
Hello, Mr. Vitale?
Yes,
Hello?
yes,
Mrs. Burns here. Is the commission also looking for a bond?
yes, you'd need to add a request for a $1,000 bond in there as a condition of approval. Thank you, Kathleen. So
Okay, I withdraw my
That's a-
motion.
you withdraw your motion, you withdraw your second. Now make a new motion, please.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the application A 20-10.1, 131 Pond Hill Road, Church of the Resurrection, be approved as submitted with the 6 conditions of approval in the planner's report of November 25th, 2020, and also a bond of $1,000.
Motion made, is there a second?
Robert Simon, second.
A motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? Call for a vote. Nick,
yes,
Deborah,
Yes,
Ally,
Yes,
Robert?
Yes.
Jim, yes. Okay, motion passed. Okay, hang on just a tad moment here. Let's see. Okay, going on to application A 20-10.2, 1033 North Colony Road, Meeting House Brook, 7-Eleven Inc. Is the applicant here tonight?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Dennis Senaviva representing the owner and applicant.
Okay,
By way of introduction, I have tonight Mark Arnold will be making part of the presentation. Mark is with Goddard Consultants. He is our soil scientist. We also have with us Josh Klein of Stonefield Engineering and Design. He is the project engineer, also making a portion of the presentation to the chair and the commissioners. The property, as you probably know, has been before you in 2009. It's a 3.55 acre parcel. The northern portion was developed with a Sonic Drive-In restaurant, again, approved by Wetlands in 2009. At that time, the approval was more expansive than what was built. So Sonic was approved and built. Also approved in 2009 were 2 additional buildings. There was a smaller pad building. It was a commercial center of about 5,700 square feet. Just to the south of Sonic and to the south of the site, to the southern part of the site was a 17,734 square foot medical office building, all with 99 additional parking spaces beyond the Sonic development. I give you that by way of background, Mr. Chairman, just to let you know that this is something that our engineering team has taken a look at, recognizing that that was approved before. This is a lesser coverage application. The application proposes to construct a 5,463 square foot 7-Eleven convenience store with 12 pumping stations beneath a front canopy. There would be 43 parking spaces, so that the application before you is, and just in terms of building coverage and impervious area, it's significantly less than what was approved in 2009. And it's less than half of the parking spaces. That's just by way of background and history. But I'm going to ask Mr. Arnold, our soil scientist, to begin the presentation. As I know, there's been some lengthy discussions with Aaron, and hopefully we'll make we'll let you know what we're planning on doing there with your consent. So Mark, you can start.
Thank you, Dennis. Mark Arnold with Goddard Consulting, soil scientist and wetland engineer with Goddard Consulting. So our firm was contracted to delineate the wetland resource areas on the site. And so I'm just going to walk through the commission through the existing conditions. So as Dennis mentioned, there was a previous development that delineated the Meeting House Brook resource areas, which included not only the bank of Meeting House Brook, which is a perennial river, but also soils that were fluviulents or alluvials or floodplain or alluvial soils, which are under the Connecticut Wetlands Protection delineated as wetlands, even though they may not have wetland hydrology, they're floodplain soils and they're protected as such. So we went out and flagged, delineated the bank of Meeting House Brook. Our original report noted that the stream was about 8 to 10 feet wide. That was based on that day observation versus the actual bank width and scour that's available there. You typically, in flashy stream as it is, it would go to about 15 to 20 feet in width. As part of the environmental report that we received from your agent there, we did go back and look at some additional areas just to make sure that we had mapped all the floodplain soils that were there. And if Josh Klein could be allowed to share his screen, he can pull up the existing conditions plan, and I can just walk you through the resource areas and where they're located.
No problem. If the organizer could just give me permission, I'll share my screen.
I think you got it. Should be good.
Diane, Jess, doesn't it open up? There you go.
Great,
Okay,
thank you.
you're up.
So Josh has pulled up the existing conditions plan. So as you can see to the north, we have the Sonic development. The building is fairly centered on the site. Meeting House Brook flows from the northeast and flows to the southwest of the site, going along the north and west sides of the property as it's called out there. The northwest corner of the areas where we did find a natural shelf of floodplain soils. And these are floodplain soils that were deposited by a fairly large flood. We found deposits of about 23 to 28 inches over a buried topsoil, which is what you would find in a typical floodplain, things that I've seen during my master's work in soil science. So that area is with flags S12 to S21 in the northwest corner. That's over 100 feet away from the proposed Lot A, which is where the proposed development is. And as Josh is showing the cursor there, it's in that northwest corner there. It's just that edge right there. We did find a nice shelf. It's about 4 feet above the existing flow pattern of the stream, but we did find a buried floodplain soil, which meets the definitions for floodplain and alluvial soils, which are protected by your commission. So the rest of the bank flags we did review to see if there were any other places where there would be deposits that could have fluvial or floodplain soils. We didn't find any others. We did review the original delineation for the Sonic project and the other two buildings. The delineations are fairly consistent otherwise with respect to topography and the edge of the bank, and we feel that we have a consistent delineation. You'll notice that the existing conditions plan doesn't show those floodplain soils, but as they are more than 100 feet away from the proposed project, we didn't think it was necessary to put those on this plan. But again, they're located off of S12 to S21, and you can see the location of S21. It's more than 100 feet away from any proposed work, which is far south of the Sonic building. So those are the existing conditions. I'm glad to answer any other questions from the board about the existing conditions and just to make sure the resource areas are understood.
I don't know if the commission's got any questions at this point. I think we can.
So yeah, I'm gonna pass it over to Josh. He's gonna present the proposed project, and again, I'll be here to answer any questions about the resource areas and impacts if needed.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask the soil scientist a quick question? If I may, yes?
Yes, sure.
Oh, I didn't know if I was being heard. Okay. So I sent out a copy of the 2009 soil plan attached to my October environmental planners report, which I believe you got. I hope you got it. Yeah. Okay. So I guess I fundamentally, that person, that was Tom Petrus, was the soil scientist for that application. And he shows the alluvial floodplain soils going right down, clear down, all the way down south, right? So my question is this: I've never been in the field with someone to educate me as to when you have floodplain soils, they come up, they're deposited. It's sort of like a moving thing. They're constantly being deposited. So tell me if this, could it not be that the day he was out, there had been a lot of storms, and then a big storm comes through and washes it away, and now you go out and there's no, those deposits have been washed away? Or is that not how it works with alluvial soils?
It is very possible that you could find that. It would have to be a fairly large storm. I mean, the deposits we found were 23 to 20 inches deep, so that was a pretty significant storm. It could have been more than 100 years ago that there was a flash flood in that area that deposited over 2 feet of sediment on top of an original topsoil. So in the sense of on this site too, I mean, the stream area would be also floodplain soils because it's within the stream bed. So I guess from his delineation to our delineation, I guess in terms of we would defer to say we'd rather call it a bank versus actual floodplain deposits that are in the river. But that's basically, otherwise you can see the bow that he has in the northwest corner of his plan. That's the same bow that we found on the shelf there, which makes sense consistent wise, because I don't think in the last 10 years there's been a large enough storm to deposit 2 feet of sediment in that area with the vegetation that was established. So the floodplain soils can change, but oftentimes they're there for a very long time because it takes a significant storm to deposit 2 feet of material. So I feel overall we're fairly consistent. Again, looking at his plan, the topography and where our flags landed, it looks fairly consistent. And we feel very comfortable that we've delineated the resource areas accurately.
But it's like a flux situation, right?
It can be. On a river of this scale, with the definitely being noted as flashy, just based on the banks and the way the stream is definitely behaving, and seeing the debris that the river carries, it can definitely change. And so it's definitely good that we looked at it again. And I think again we found fairly consistent conditions, at least on our side of the bank. The other side of the river has probably changed more in the last 10 years than our side.
Right, because it's lower. It's lower.
It's lower, and also the outer curves of the river are going to see more erosion than the inside curves. So as the river flows to the west, it turns sharply to the south, and on that curve, the undercut is pretty significant in the north west corner of the river there, where it turns off site. It's a pretty significant undercut that's happening there, and that's changing constantly depending on how large the storms are each year.
All right, thank you.
Jim? I have a question for him.
Go ahead, Nick.
When we approved the Sonic to go in there, we talked about that lower area that he just referred to and pointed out to us. And my understanding was they were gonna get it stabilized and leave it alone. Now the new 7-Eleven is supposed to go to the south of Sonic in that parking lot area. I went by there today and I saw they were doing some core boring. Is that samples of the soil that's sitting there, or what's the outcome of that? Are we going to get a report on what you're doing there today with core bores?
Josh, do you have a picture? I know I saw some of the geotech data, but
Dennis, you might have a better idea of the more recent borings, maybe at the direction of the owner, but we already did perform geotechnical testing across the site, and that was included within our engineering report that both Aaron and Allison reviewed. So we have gone out there and done testing throughout the project area.
All right, what was your concern about going over to the behind the Sonic and that sharp corner there? Are you afraid there's going to be more future erosion there than you want to address it?
No. The question was raised whether or not there were flood soils that had been delineated, because our report was very was focused on the bank of the river, particularly because we knew we were working to the south of the Sonic. And so we just wanted to make sure the commission was fully aware of those areas as well. And so that's why we went out and just looked at that area, just to make sure the commission understood that there are some flood soils located in that area. There's no work proposed in that area within 100 feet of that area. But again, it's just for the record. We just wanted to make sure that the commission understood those soils are still there and still are regulated by your commission.
All right, because it's a 7-Eleven, you're going to have underground storage for fuel. Are there special permits you have to get from DEP being this close to the brook?
It's probably a better question for me. I'm happy to kind of take over and give a quick, rundown and presentation kind of what the proposed improvements are. Mark, I don't know I'll leave it to the chairman. If there's any other questions, I can definitely take over and kind of give the full presentation.
I'm not sure if Nick's question got answered. I was looking for the answer. Is there any, what was the question again, Nick, regarding the tanks being installed?
Well, I'm concerned about the type of soil that's there, and because we're so close to the brook with environmental issues, are there any special permitting that needs to be done through DEP or state of Connecticut to put underground vaults for their fuel, their petrol? Is there special sensors that need to be put in because of that area? And the other concern I had was they're going to be down south of Sonic, that whole big lot that is vacant. You can see in the picture here. Are they not going to be anywhere near the brook? I hope, unless they're going to do some more stabilization to that brook. But the focus on the site of 7-Eleven is going to be right inside of off North County Road in the old, that big parking lot, which today they had a hole tester in there doing core bores. So I'm just confused about, all I asked was, are there special permittings because they're so close to the brook? What, you know, is a fiberglass tank? Are they steel tank? What's going in the ground for petroleum products? You know, what special permits are needed to do this project on this site?
Yeah, that's no problem. Happy to answer the questions. I apologize, my camera went down. So the tanks are regulated by the state. So they do need to be in accordance with the state of Connecticut requirements. And then just to give some background on the tanks themselves, these will be double walled, and I'm just kind of pulling up the section. So there are kind of multiple layers of safety nets kind of in place when it comes to these tanks. And they will be installed kind of in accordance with the state requirements. So these are double walled underground tanks. So there's kind of that space in between the tanks. There's also a sensor that's located in between the two tanks that is fed through an automatic tank gauge. So basically this monitors the tanks and it monitors that inner wall in between the two tanks. So if there were ever, and again, these are modern day double wall tanks kind of to, you know, to the highest, you know, state standard. But if there were ever, you know, any, you know, intrusion or issue, there are sensors that immediately would notify the tenant. And again, they are monitored daily, and all this information is reconciled and provided to the state as well, as these are because of the tanks. The tanks themselves, as well as the dispensers, also have containment sumps. So these containment sumps are made of fiberglass. And what they do is they contain a sensor as well. And what they allow for is if any liquid were to go into these containment sumps, they would trigger an alarm, and these systems will also have a positive shutoff. So it will instantly stop the fueling. It'll stop any fueling in any of the lines. It'll notify the 7-Eleven team, and immediately they'll be able to kind of notify their environmental team. And the alarm can't be turned off without a designated employee kind of reviewing the actual sump itself. Additionally, there's double-walled gasoline piping, so this is not single-wall piping that stores the material. They have automatic gauges or sensors that kind of monitor all the different components of the systems, and these must pass a test every 30 days. Additionally, there's you know, I can kind of go into more detail, but there are warnings and alarm systems that are certified by a third-party contractor that are part of this. So if, you know, there were, you know, at any point an issue, these alarms are triggered, any irregular activity, the alarm would be triggered and it'd be notified. It would notify the employee. And the employees that do work at the site are Class C certified employees. So they're familiar with, you know, the location of any spill kit. They're familiar with, you know, where the alarm system panelings are, where any of these warnings would be. They're kind of familiar with the procedures that are in place to kind of notify the corporate team, as well as to notify 7-Eleven's environmental consultant, who would, you know, kind of right away take action at the property.
Josh, I was waiting, I've heard of the double wall tanks, but are they double wall steel? They double wall steel fiberglass? They double wall fiberglass?
They are, I'm just pulling up, they are double walled fiberglass.
Okay, Nick, does that answer your question, Nick?
Yes, that answers that question. The last question I have is been designed for snow shelf at the 7-Eleven if it's approved?
What do you mean by snow shelf?
Where are you gonna put the snow? Over the bank?
Right. Yeah, that's no problem. So snow storage has definitely been thought about, and we 100% will not be putting snow on the top of that slope. So what I can do is I will share my screen and I'll just pull up kind of the plan to kind of give you an idea, but let's see. So here's kind of, you were just looking at the existing condition as kind of Mark went you through. Again, Sonic is over on the right-hand side of the screen. So no snow, and a condition of approval would be agreeable to be made that no snow would be stored at the top of this slope. So there'll be areas carved out along kind of the left-hand side of the page. There'll be areas kind of along the on-ramp, as well as some areas that are down kind of on the frontages where snow will be stored, but no snow would be stored on the top of bank.
Okay, the state of Connecticut's gonna allow you to store snow in the front of the entranceway for the 7-Eleven?
That close to the, they can be that
Again,
close.
That's railroad traffic.
We're working with the state. The project does require approval from the state. Snow storage areas, will be represented to the state. Again, we're seeking an encroachment permit for the driveway as well as the signal. We would kind of follow any state guidelines or recommendations. So if they deem snow could not be stored there, again, it wouldn't be stored within any sight line. This is a signalized intersection, so we don't really see any issue from that perspective. But again, all snow would be kind of stored, and I think the big thing to take away for the commission is that it would not be stored along the top of bank.
Okay, thank you, Jess.
It's a funky stoplight. It's not, I guess it's stoplight.
Okay, you still got your screen up, Josh. I don't know how to get rid of it.
Would you like me to take it down?
Well, I think we need to move on. Nick, you all set with questions?
Sir, all set.
Okay, any other commissioners?
I have a question.
Yes, Jennifer.
So will they be generating and submitting some sort of spill control plan?
What kind of control plan, please?
A spill control plan in the event that there is some sort of issue. I know that they're going to be monitoring, and you mentioned that the employees are going to be trained and you're going to have spill kits available and things like that. Will there be some sort of formal spill control plan in the event of a spill? And
So there is a standard procedure, and it is a requirement to have this procedure. It's a laminated, and it's included in multiple places, but typically behind the register, it's kind of this laminated procedure of what happens. So what I can do is kind of pull up an example of kind of what this emergency response procedure is. But there is a kind of a plan in place. So there's, if you can kind of see, there's kind of the two items noted. So there's kind of a large surface spill, or if there's substantial damage to a dispenser, and there's also like a small surface spill. And so there's kind of the procedure on what to do in these situations. So, this is included at the store. This is kind of part of the training. But again, really the key here is, they're trained to kind of shut things down, contain to whatever level they're kind of comfortable, depending on what the course, what the actual spill itself is. And then immediately they notify 7-Eleven or the online third party that 7-Eleven uses to create a case, which is then they are able to create this case that is brought to the state, but as well as it immediately notifies an environmental consultant who is local, who would be dispatched to the site. And again, this is done, monitored 24 hours a day. These sites are monitored 24 hours a day. The the paneling, the alarm systems, all this information is kind of closely monitored by the team.
Josh, two questions, if I may. I'm sorry, I missed this page you have up on the spill plan, where is that in the submittals? Is it in this?
We did not submit that as part of the formal submittal to you. So we did bring it kind of prepared to talk about it based on our conversations, but we didn't send the printout to you directly.
Okay, and anything you show tonight is part of the record. So if you could furnish that page, would that be possible?
Yeah, no problem at all.
Okay. And the other thing, while we're on gasoline issues, could you talk about that trench that you put at the end of the gas island?
Yeah, no problem. So kind of working with Aaron and, understanding the sensitivity that a gas station brings to any project. The applicant is proposing a trench drain that's located along the right-hand side or the north side of the underground storage tanks. And one of the kind of design features and intents of the project that our team kind of looked to incorporate is the site is graded in a way that the kind of area where all the dispensers are and the fueling pad are all kind of graded to drain to this isolated trench drain, and the rest of the site has been manipulated in a way to push stormwater runoff away from this trench drain. So this would allow, in the event that there were a spill, it would drain solely to this trench drain. And then this trench drain, and I'm just going to flip to the stormwater management plan quickly. Sorry to be flipping so much on the screen. And you can see on the stormwater management plan, this trench drain is connected to a offline oil water separator. So, during your low flow event or a spill, or you hear the water quality storm, so that kind of initial first flush that would pick up, any of this material drains to this oil water separator. And then during a larger event, once that first flush is kind of gone, and at this point there would be, there's no remnants, we've designed this manhole as a bypass structure that would bypass the larger storm events, in order not to cause any kind of issues or surcharge effect in this outlet structure.
Josh, let me ask you this. What's the capacity of this oil water separator?
We're proposing a 1,500 gallon unit.
Okay, and how is it designed?
It's a three baffle system.
Is it allowed to different chambers and lets the gas drop to the go to the bottom or go to the top and let the water go to the bottom?
Correct. Yes, it's got different chambers that allow those low flow events to settle and allow the gas to float to the top, and then it has a kind of a outlet near the bottom that would let the water kind of come out of it.
It won't work because the new gasoline with the ethanol, it then doesn't separate out. You should know that.
Yeah, I mean, this
water is suspended in the ethanol.
Yeah, it's a product that we've seen effective. Working on these projects throughout the Northeast. It kind of allows, again, the idea is really this is that first flush that to kind of prevent any of that minor amount of remnants that might be there.
But you didn't hear me. The gas doesn't separate from the water. The water incorporates in the gas. The ethanol has made it all one product. You can't stick the tank and show me where the water and the gas separate. I want more information. Now that you brought that up, the concept is great. In the old days, the oil water separators, diesel fuel, heating oil, grease, and oil. But this new gasoline with ethanol, you can't show where the two separate in a tank.
Yeah, I mean, we're happy to work with the 7-Eleven team and their fueling operations team. We proposed this system. It was kind of a recommendation of the town planners. Our thought is, and kind of what we're providing, so after the oil water separator, all of the runoff on site does go through a stormwater unit. So that unit has filtration properties. It has a sump as well. So they typically pick up remnants of fueling. And again, part of the project in the case of an actual spill event, it's not like it would be left unattended. So any gasoline, if there were a spill event, gasoline would go into the oil water separator where it would be contained, whether it separates or not. And then the environmental would be notified and they would pump it out to collect it. And then again, all of this stormwater does still go through a water quality unit, which provides kind of that additional passive treatment of the stormwater.
Josh, I don't think you're hearing me. You're talking about this oil water separator, and the town planners, it's a great idea, but you're dealing with gasoline with ethanol in it. I'd like to see a report that says this will work, because first of all, the oil water separator is going to be 100% full all the time. And as the watery gasoline goes in, the watery gasoline is going to go out. It's a great concept to think you have something there, but you've got to prove to me that this is going to separate gasoline and water that has ethanol in it.
Understood. We're happy to kind of go back with the fueling team and gather some more information. And we're also, again, we're more than comfortable to remove it. It was a kind of a request made at the town. If it's found that it's not effective, we have no issue removing it. Again, I think what we've done is we've designed the site in a way that we've separated the runoff from the vehicular areas from the gas, so that in an event that something were to happen, areas can be treated directly, and they're not kind of mixing in with runoff that's coming across the site.
Well, you got your work cut out for you. I'd like to see some documentation that this will separate gasoline, that'll hold gasoline from water.
Josh, just to confirm that the oil gas separator is not required for the stormwater standards, but the water quality unit provides all the required treatment, even for a high potential site of spills, right?
The oil, well, there's a water quality unit that treats all stormwater that comes through the site. The oil water separator was an additional kind of item provided at the town's request.
So without the oil and gas separator, the site still complies with the state stormwater standards, even for a site that has high pollutants like gas.
Correct. It complies with all requirements.
It may comply, and that's fine. It's just that when you state it's going to take the separator, hold the gas, I want it to be proven that it's going to be hold the gas. But continue on with your presentation.
No, understood. We appreciate the feedback.
We haven't got to the whole stormwater management plan yet.
Yeah, it's no problem. So I'll jump right into the technical. I think everyone knows where the site's located. I think everyone can see what we're doing. Obviously we're here tonight to talk about the regulated activity. We're not here tonight to kind of talk about, all the other operations of the site itself. I'm happy to answer any of those questions. I'm very familiar with the project. What I'll focus on is the regulated activity here. So, as Mark went through, there is Meeting House Brook along the western edge of the site. Wetland soils were not found within this area, but there still is a 100-foot upland review area based on the slope behind the site or to the west of the site. I'm just going to kind of move over to the rendering to go through. So the proposed improvements are considered a regulated activity. We are doing construction within this 100-foot upland review area. We are kind of doing some constructions or stormwater and utility installations that are located within the slope as well. So I think kind of as we talked about before and kind of Dennis mentioned in the initial opening, we did take into account, I think number one is we took into account the proximity of the brook. We kind of took that into account in our design, and we also kind of took into account from an engineering perspective, what was previously approved, and we looked at ways, how can we improve it? So, I think one of the first items we kind of think about and how we can kind of improve the stability of the slope, how can we improve Meeting House Brook is, how do we contain runoff? So kind of pulled up, this is like a photo exhibit or an aerial exhibit prepared by our office. But as you can see, kind of the site today is kind of this large expansive area of broken gravel, broken asphalt, kind of, for all intents and purposes, I mean, this is impervious surfaces. And today, this area and the majority of the site, there is a portion of the site that is collected within Colony Road, but the majority of the site, sheet flows undetained over this slope. So during high intensity storm events, water comes off of this pavement and goes right over the slope and right over this embankment. And what you kind of see when we go to the proposed condition and this proposed plan is you can kind of see one of the big changes is we are kind of pushing the impervious surfaces further away from the slope, so further outside of the 100-foot upland review area. We've moved the building further away. The majority of the impervious surfaces is kind of located along the frontage of the site, kind of along the state frontages. We're kind of replanting the top of this bank, with landscaping. We've kind of made this all kind of grass area for the most part, kind of pulled some of that pavement back. And now what we're really doing, what you can see on the stormwater management plan is, all of that runoff is collected, and we've created a single kind of point of discharge that is protected, that discharges into the brook. And so kind of on top of that idea that now we're taking that water and we're actually naturally having less runoff because we're providing less impervious than what's out there today. So on top of that, what we're doing is we're also treating it. So we're 100% treating all stormwater on site from all surfaces. And in addition, what we're proposing is an infiltration basin. So we did perform testing on site, and the soils do support infiltration. So what we've done is propose an infiltration basin to infiltrate an additional amount of the stormwater. So kind of some highlights of the stormwater system, just kind of for reference from a peak discharge standpoint. So kind of what runs off there now to what's going to run off there in the proposed condition. I mean, we're reducing kind of the 2 through 25-year storm events by, over 30%. The 100-year storm event, close to 15%. And then one of the big, values to think about is really the volume, like the total amount of runoff. So one of the big components of this application is, kind of across the board for all storm events, we're reducing the volume of water by about 30%. So that's kind of a big part of it from a stormwater perspective is, we're kind of minimizing the amount of water that's just flowing right over this bank. We're collecting it, we're treating it, we're reducing it, and we're kind of sending it out this one stabilized point. So I think in terms of regulated activity, just to kind of highlight, what I'll do is kind of pull up this phase 1 and phase 2 soil erosion control plan we prepared kind of to kind of address some of Aaron's comments, and then just kind of to help with understanding, kind of the sequencing of construction. But, kind of under the phase 1, kind of the 2 areas of disturbance within the bank, we do have a sewer connection we will be making to an existing sewer stub that's located kind of in the top of the screen. And then we are going to be providing this new outfall. So it's going to be a head wall with a riprap apron, as well as like a riprap lined slope. And then we will be using kind of erosion control matting as well to kind of stabilize the slope above the head wall. So those are the kind of the 2 disturbances that are within that sloped area. And just kind of touching on soil erosion control, obviously it's a big part of this regulated activity. We are proposing a sediment trap. The trap has been designed with a silt fence baffle to even kind of further reduce the amount of, help trap the sediment within the trap itself. And one of the key things I think to talk about is we are proposing a diversion swale along the entirety or the perimeter and the top of the bank. So even during construction, what we're doing is kind of containing that runoff. So, runoff isn't going to be during construction kind of free flowing over this slope, not like water is kind of sheet flowing off. We're having this kind of diversion swale across the top of the bank, which will clean that construction runoff. It's going into this sediment trap. It's coming around the baffle in order to help the sediment settle. And then we are proposing a temporary riser structure that consists of a perforated pipe that's kind of wrapped in a filter fabric to, help, kind of filter or reduce, any sediment that's going to be kind of discharged to Meeting House Brook. And then we have prepared a phase 2 soil erosion plan, which kind of shows the plan and, a stabilized kind of post-construction condition. So this kind of consists of more of your typical soil erosion control measures. There will be kind of silt fencing, inlet filters, staging, stockpile area. And this is kind of when those kind of those permanent controls are put in place to kind of stabilize the site for when they kind of open or kind of move forward.
Why don't you talk to me about the infiltration system that you're using? And is it all going into an infiltration system, including the roof drainage from the building?
Yeah, no
Usually we like to keep that a separate, clean product.
Yeah, so it's a great point, and really a key to making sure an infiltration system operates properly. So what we're doing with this infiltration system is we're sending the roof areas, which are typically clean, and then we are sending a portion of the kind of vehicular areas. But what we're doing is we're running that through a water quality unit to fully treat the stormwater before it enters the infiltration basin.
And what are you using for an infiltration system?
We're proposing a perforated pipe system.
Not an open bottom galley, just a perforated pipe?
No, the current design is a perforated pipe wrapped in stone.
And is there an outlet to that system?
Correct. So kind of to mitigate that stormwater coming out, we're using an outlet control structure.
And then that goes where?
So if you're kind of following the screen, that kind of works your way to the north or to the Sonic property, where it connects to a structure. And so all the stormwater connects at a single point, manhole 104, and from there it discharges through to the outfall.
So there's no other infiltration system other than the one that's right in front of the building?
Correct. And kind of the thought process is we wanted to treat as much of the site as we could, but we are sensitive to the idea that this is a gas station. And even though that we're kind of proposing this grading in a way to kind of push runoff away from the gasoline areas, we're not proposing to kind of infiltrate any runoff that's kind of located close to any of the fueling areas, just as a precaution.
But you have no retention, detention basin affecting any of the other stormwater runoff. That's a direct discharge to the Meeting House Brook.
Well, it does go through a water quality unit before it goes to Meeting House Brook, but the project as a whole is reducing the amount of impervious. So even if we didn't have any detention or retention systems, we're naturally reducing the peak discharge that's going to the brook.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions?
Jim, it sounds like to me that he's got the whole underground drainage system all tied into one package that has one discharge point. I think they need to go back to the drawing table and segregate the emergency spillway. Their underground water discharge does not sound right for this application from what he just said, unless I misunderstood him, but it sounds like everything is looped together and it discharges in one point. I think you brought it up in the beginning with this emergency spill galley with the ethanol. It sounds to me like the whole site can be contaminated if we have a 100-year storm and everything fills up, or there's an ice storm and everything is frozen and there's a spill. Somebody runs into one of the pumps and then all of a sudden we have a natural spill. Unless I misunderstood him, I don't think it's segregated. I think the whole complete drainage system is all tied in underground into one big blanket. So I think they need to go back to the drawing board and segregate some of the stuff they're doing. I don't know, unless I misunderstood him. Did I not hear you right, Josh?
I don't believe so. I mean, again, the dispensers and the underground system is collected in a separate inlet. or collected via trench drain. And the infiltration is happening with different runoff.
I think Jasper is though referring to both systems come together with one discharge to the brook. Is that more like it, Nick?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to him. What his presentation just sounded like everything does its underground trick and then it ends up at one discharge point. I'm not sure if that's what he meant, but that's what it sounded like to me is the infiltration and the roof runoffs and then the emergency spill, they're all tied together. When that 1,500 gallon galley gets full of rainwater, if there is any spoils or contaminants in there, it's going to mix in with the discharge of the rest of the project and go out the Meeting House Brook. Is that true or is segregated?
So there's 1 point, correct. There's 1 point of discharge into the brook. And again, effort to be made. We don't want to have multiple discharge points. So yes, it all kind of collects at 1 point. I will say kind of going back to the design here. I mean, this system is designed, with multiple controls, multiple alarms. The idea here is that, this system is designed to, minimize spill events to the greatest extent, we can. And, what we're doing in terms of having a water quality unit, providing the oil water separator, kind of allows for those additional precautions, kind of mix in there as well. So, we're happy to provide another, additional item you kind of see with gas stations. And we would, if it helps resolve some of the concern you have is, we can do kind of grooved concrete around the perimeter of the dispenser islands. And we can do kind of grooved concrete so that, maybe that any of those little remnants that you're concerned about would kind of be caught in there. And that would be, would be observed and kind of viewed by the 7-Eleven team, and they would kind of be responsible for cleaning that up in a situation that it would need to be.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say is I think you need to go back, not to the town of Wallingford, but you need to go back to 7-Eleven team and say, hey, look, Wetlands brought this up as an issue. How do we address it? Maybe there's another way they can contain it and segregate it if it needs to be segregated. But this is not going to work as a water oil separator, water quality system at this site for what you guys want to do. So I can understand Wallingford Water and the Sewer Department being concerned because this is one of their pet peeves, but this system is not going to work on 7-Eleven sites. So I'd go back to your gas people and say, hey, we have an issue here. We need to mend it.
Josh, I've been involved and I have seen systems in a drainage system with oil water separators that actually have a valve in the system that before it got too far down the line, you could open a manhole and shut the valve off to the 12-inch pipe. Might be something to look at this. Any other questions, commissioners? Aaron?
Yeah, before we get to the next sheet that I know Josh is going to go over with the slope issues. Josh, you've said several times that the overland runoff from this site today goes over that slope and can cause erosion. So I'm confused. Maybe tell me there's a unique little low concrete wall. It's about, 9 inches high that runs along that river, along the top of the slope by the river, at the edge of the gravel parking area. Right, where you're pointing out a little, right there. Yeah, that thing. Doesn't that hold it back there or no? Is it porous?
Not really. The concrete wall is in disarray. And again, water still kind of sheet flows on either end of it. If the wall were in fact to kind of fully act, it probably creates an even worse condition than water spreading out and flowing evenly over the slope, because it creates, 2 discharge points at the top of the slope that would come down. But again, the wall, based on when I was out there, it may divert some runoff, but again, you know, the low points of the site on either end, I mean, the majority of this runoff is kind of flowing down off into the, you know, over the slope.
All right, and that little low, it's only like 8 inches. It's really not a wall. It's more like a big curb, right? Whatever. It's gonna stay, correct? Or is it going?
We're looking to maintain it, just to minimize the amount of disturbance within the upland review area.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, next, go ahead, Josh. You got more to show us?
You know, I think we've kind of touched on, you know, most of the scope of the improvements. So I'm happy to answer any questions, provide any more additional information. But again, I think we've kind of at this point, you know, hit the scope of the improvements. And I think, you know, we obviously have heard some of the concerns, and it's something that, you know, we're going to take into consideration. But again, I think from you know, a lot of the items we've been working through with Aaron, you know, our office has really, you know, taken to heart and looked to address, and we feel that, you know, where we're at this point, you know, we're providing, you know, a good plan that does look to kind of minimize the impacts to that slope and to the brook.
All right, let me just point out this, that you drew a nice plan. That's fine. You did everything you think is correct. Now you've got to find a builder that can do the work and keep the environment safe. You have a steep slope. It's going to have a rundown. It's going to have a pipe sticking out. You're going to be over there with the sewer line. I think your next presentation has really got to focus on how you're going to construct that when the time comes.
Oh, I'm happy to kind of to talk about the construction of it.
Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
If I could say, Josh, are you gonna put up that cross-sectional view that you emailed me tonight?
Yeah, that's no problem. So I think it's a great point. You know, a key to any project is a good contractor. So, you know, there's definitely a few different means and methods that a contractor could use to construct this slope. So kind of, you know, what we've looked at, you know, based on our proposed kind of disturbance and you know, based on kind of feedback from working with Aaron and the previous approval, you know, kind of look to maintain that minimal amount of disturbance. You know, you could look to kind of accomplish this through the use of trench boxes, or there's kind of various ways of temporary shoring in order to install these improvements within the slope. So just pulled up as kind of requested, we put together kind of a cross section which highlights the proposed improvements kind of along this slope. And just a couple things to note, we are providing kind of a riprap toe, or this basically the scour protection at the bank itself. We are going to be riprap lining the proposed slope. We have a riprap apron for the outlet protection to kind of dissipate the velocity within the head wall. We are also providing kind of an additional toe, but basically a kind of a riprap lining above the head wall itself to help stabilize this proposed slope. And then the proposed slope will be lined with an erosion control blanket to stabilize it as well.
And
Meeting House Brook is notorious for washing out, mainly because of the stormwater, or the water that comes down from adjoining property, not property in the town of Wallingford. When you have this riprap slope out at the end of the discharge area, I'm wondering if it makes more sense to spread the riprap out further upstream of Meeting House Brook. I'd hate to see one of the crazy floods that come down there wipe out undercut the riprap that you're going to put in, and next thing you know, the head wall falls out, et cetera, et cetera. I think that needs to be looked at, which you may have already. I'm just pointing out my observation.
Yeah,
Josh, I believe the riprap is set above the floodplain. So we've considered the flooding already in the sense of where we've placed the riprap. Josh's plans are pretty detailed. I'm a certified professional in sedimentation and erosion control, and I inspect sites under construction near rivers and resource areas. And Josh's the cross section is an excellent example of how a site's supposed to be stabilized. And I think the details that are provided have definitely been carefully considered to protect the environment. There's definitely superior plans to what I've seen in other projects that I've done with regards to that. And you'll notice the riprap does fan out as necessary on each side. Also, it goes out beyond kind of the edge of the head wall. So there is some extra protection there above and below that to allow for that anchorage in that. And again, we're setting it above, the head wall is above the floodplain. The bottom of the riprap is just, again, to stabilize that slope, and the sizing is definitely large for the consideration of what we're doing with regards to the larger stone for the scour of not only the river, but also any discharge that does occur. So, and that, again, you can see the large riprap proposed there is specifically for the situation.
Well, I know along that brook, we've actually had some people we requested and they installed gabion baskets in a very sensitive area. Just curious if that might not be that little extra protection on the edge of this riprap slope.
There is a riprap slope right next to the Amtrak entrance itself. That was actually installed in the last, I think, 3 years. There was work on this riverbank that installed riprap near the sewer manhole that we're connecting to, and they used riprap in that slope, and that slope has stayed stable the last few years since they've done that work. So it's been done in that area, and again, the contractor's done. Josh has done an excellent job at narrowing those disturbance areas to minimize disturbance as a whole, again, which is critical, and providing the adequate erosion control here, I think, which is good.
How big what size riprap is proposed right up against the river?
I believe the plans call out, I think, in accordance with the state requirements, I think it's like 6 to 12 inch riprap.
Thank you.
Okay, any question, commissioners? All right, are you, is that the end of your presentation, Josh?
Oh,
Yes, again, if there's any other questions, I'm happy to provide some additional.
if I may, I think, Josh, maybe the commission would like to hear how actually that pipe is installed. Is it 14 feet below the ground, or how you do that, the mechanics of it?
Again, there's a few different ways that it could be installed. So a contractor could use various temporary shoring methods, or could use trench boxes to install the system.
And it's all done from the top. You don't have to go down. It's you get what a big excavator goes over the top with the arm of the excavator.
They would excavate it out to install the improvements.
Okay. All right, so Aaron, are they ready to get approved tonight?
Oh, gosh, no. Actually, I wrote an environmental planners report. I completed it tonight because there's so much going on. I will get this out to the commission with other new materials that come in. Obviously, it's virtual meeting. If it was live, I'd hand out all these things to you. But I will be getting this out shortly with the other new submittals that have come in.
Okay. All right, that's enough. The Attorney Senaviva, we have a massive meeting, it sounds like, coming up in January. So it would behoove you, I'm sure you want to be on the agenda for that meeting, to spend as much time getting all issues resolved. So we don't need, it won't be an hour or 2 hours of your time to process your application.
I think that's, and you've been, the commission's been very helpful in providing us, you know, the issues that we need addressed. I think Josh did a good job explaining the plan as a whole, but the questions still are there that need to be addressed. We did get the report from Erin. I think, as she points out, thankfully, a few minutes before the meeting, it was actually about 4:40, I think it was sent over. We'll go through that. We'll get the comments back as quickly as we can, and we appreciate the attention and the comments from the commission.
Okay, then we'll continue this next month. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Going on to new business. Because Thanksgiving was last Thursday, and so not all applications that usually come before us tonight have been submitted to the town hall by the time the packets went out. So this is just a notification. If any applicants have submitted anything up to last night, they will be on the agenda going forward. They're as accepted as received.
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to read the 3 applications that came in?
Just quickly, don't just quickly.
Okay, Northford Road Bridge and the Muddy River, that's the town of Wallingford Engineering Department. South Turnpike Road Bridge and Mansion Road Brook, over Mansion Road Brook. Again, that's the engineering department. The first one was bridge reconstruction. This is bridge rehabilitation. The third one is the Proton facility that people have been talking about. That's 932 Northrop Road, Proton International Medical Center.
Okay, very good. Of course, the town applications will all be complete and they'll be easy to process. There won't be too many issues, correct, Aaron?
Okay, I don't know what you're referring to.
Well, I mean, the town, everybody's working with the town. They know our regulations. So I'm sure they're going to be relatively easy to process.
Oh, right, the town applications, correct. And those 3 applications I'll be sending out soon. I'd be handing them out tonight, but I'll mail them. I'll mail them.
Okay, reports, going on to reports and communication. We haven't done anything on the fine situation at the moment. Let's go on to the number 2, Farm Hill Road Detention Basin Report.
Yes, last week we had a mayoral meeting with different departments on that. And it went on for maybe 2 hours, and ended up the ball is in the law department's court right now. They have to straighten out the easements. There's 3 easements. They got to get that all straightened out, and they're taking the lead on it.
Okay, you might want to go up Farm Hill and just inspect what was an open water course to the north. Seems to be covered over, maybe with a pipe, maybe with stone. You might just peek around there a little bit.
Below the basin?
North of the basin, north of the basin.
Okay. But
north
south
of Farm Hill Road.
North of Farm Hill Road. Okay.
Okay. All right. Going on then to propose zoning regulation amendments. Watershed district. I thought we were looking for water and sewer regulation changes.
Well, the watershed protection district regulations are housed within the zoning regulations. Yes, and the water and sewer is very concerned about that. They're commenting. This is in front of planning and zoning right now. They're going to post it. If people want to read the regulations, they'll be posted. Maybe they're already posted under the planning and zoning next meeting website, because there's going to be a virtual meeting. And it's for the I6, the IX zone, the I5 zone, and the water protection district.
All right, so you don't have the changes. They're going to be posted.
Well, actually, I was going to ask you, I do have a copy. Would you like me to send it to the commissioners in the packet that's going out this week?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Cackywhack is next week, December 5th, this weekend. That's virtual online. Is there still a fee for that being online?
Yes. I sent it out in the packet. It'll be in the bottom, the last thing in your packet.
I thought I saw it. I didn't
Yeah.
realize there'd be a fee being virtual. Okay, violations, they're all the same. Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed for the worse or the better.
All right. Anything else to come before us tonight, commissioners? And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
That's Deb Phillips.
Sorry.
And Rob Simon seconds the motion.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Very good, gang. I guess it's coming along a little better.
Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
All right. Aye.
Have a good night, good month, happy holidays, all that jazz.